but it's the 20s for you.
Ah. I figured you were talking Celsius.
Nah, yeah. You ain't gonna get me on that one again, mate.
Joe, I had to put a space heater here in South Florida the last few days. It was really cold.
I've got 3 heaters pointing at me right
down
now.
To 40 in Florida?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't have central heat or baseboard heat or, stoves. Yeah, it's just easier to get a little space heater and warm up the room.
Yeah, anyway. Okay, tell me when to start.
I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1, then I'm going to get my 20 seconds of mic silence. Okay. 3.
Start Craig.
Oh, God in heaven.
You'd lose your head if it wasn't attached. I think we got a doctor.
Now recording.
And now this. I forget how to do this. I forget how to get rid of him. Because I'm in a panic brain.
There is a way. Is it disable video, I think? You click.
Yeah, where is that option? Right click. Ah, there it is. Bam.
Show non-video participants.
Yeah. You're real quiet, Joe.
Am I?
Yeah.
I got my gain turned down so that you're not picking up too much of the hockey game.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hold on a second. We got a problem with the stream. All right, it's not complaining right now. It was complaining about keyframes. You're not sending enough keyframes.
Welcome to mintCast. Shall I start again?
Yeah.
Welcome to mintCast, the podcast by the Linux Mint community for all users of Linux. This is episode 476, recorded on Sunday, January 4th, 2026. 2026! Yes, 2026.
Tired of the tower issues? I'm Joe.
Freezing? I'm Majid.
I guess I'll go ahead and do mine now. I'm Bill.
Now in OCR Czar, I'm Jim.
Okay, so first up in the news, we have a retraction because we'd made a bit of a snafu. We're going to be reviewing our predictions for last year. There's no prizes for being right, although that's what we do, and I'm come up with some predictions for 2026. And then we've also got our wanderings. We'll also have some feedback and a couple of suggestions. Please remember, if you want to follow along with the show's discussions, the full show notes for this episode are linked in the show's description at mintcast.org/show-notes. So yes, a retraction from our last episode, 475. We made a couple of mistakes.
You want me to go ahead and take this, since I kind of blame myself for this a little bit?
Well, you shouldn't blame yourself. I mean, I love blaming other people for my own mess ups, but I think this is a team snafu.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Well, there was two. We made 2 mistakes, or as I said, I do blame myself. No matter what Majid said, he's trying to be nice, and I appreciate that. But we'll go ahead and clear that up now. The first was when we were talking about the Mint Monthly blog. And this was from episode 475, by the way. We said there would be a way to upgrade. I asked the question, isn't that something new? Because that seemed peculiar to me, but the way it was described confused me a little bit. And it sounded like they were saying that you would be able to upgrade directly to the 22.3 beta from 22.2. This was a misunderstanding of the information. That is, in fact, not true. There is, as has always been the case, no way to upgrade in place, meaning upgrade directly without erasing, and starting over from any Mint version to any beta. That's just never been a thing. I think the confusion in my case stems from the line stating that there would be an announcement when the links are available. If you want to run the beta, you'll have to install it in a nuke and pave kind of fashion. But I would recommend virtual machines, honestly, if you want to try it. But if you want to go to it, usually I think I've tried betas a couple times, and I've had pretty good luck with them. I've never...
Yeah, I mean, they've been generally good with their betas, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I know philosophically... I mean, I remember myself also thinking that it sounded a bit strange, but then I also kind of thought, well, maybe it's just a case of, going with the times. Nearly every other distro allows these kinds of in-place upgrades and, upgrading to a beta channel and all this kind of stuff. So I just thought maybe Clem and the team were just following that. And so that's why I kind of just went, oh, okay. I mean, it's different, but...
strange, but, not beyond the realm of
exactly, yeah, exactly, Yeah. It's not beyond the realms of yeah. And then the other thing was to do with the new cinnamon menu.
Yeah. Now this one, I sorry, this is completely my mistake. The other thing was when I mentioned the new cinnamon menu was currently available in 22.2. I was confused by an update I saw come down for an alternative menu that I've had installed for some time called the Sin VII. I guess that means Sin 7 Stark menu, which is a very feature-rich traditional menu that it's basically like the ARC menu. It basically is the ARC menu for GNOME, or like the Brisk menu in Budgie and the Whisker menu in XFCE. The new menu will be available in the upcoming 22.3, as far as I'm aware. If I'm wrong about that, somebody please let me know.
I mean, I've used that menu as well, mainly because you can fiddle with it and make it almost a full screen launcher if you wanted to.
I've always...
it's got a lot.
Yeah, I tried it. It's got a lot to it, and you can, like you said, there's a lot you can change, you can set up, and that. I've used the Cinemenu for some time, just because that's kind of a Windows 10-esque Cinemenu. Is that the one you use, Joe?
In the check this out. It's the one that I default to when I have problems with the default menu.
Yeah.
So if something comes up and my menu quits working because of an upgrade or whatever, I will switch to Cinemenu.
Mm-hmm. That's the main reason for me is because I like to have, when I bring the menu up, I like to have a nice little page of favorite applications. You can't really do that. You've got a concept of favorites in the default menu, but they're like listed along the side, and if you put more than about 3 or 4 of them on there, it starts to get...
You can't make it bigger. It starts scrolling
all the way up to the top of the screen. That looks kind of silly, so I just went with the Cine menu, but we'll see how this new one goes. It looks a little bit more clean and up to date.
It does look nice.
Yeah.
It does look nice. Yeah.
So my apologies, our apologies for the confusion, and remember, this podcast is and always will be a community effort, so if you hear something that doesn't quite sound right, don't be afraid to reach out and let us know. I mean, some of our best content has been people calling me out on my wrongness.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, as you know, anything... apologies, as we said, for the confusion. If anybody hears anything that they think sounds wrong, just tell us. We're probably wrong. Let's be honest. We're more likely to be wrong than right most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an IT professional, and Majid is not an IT professional.
No, I'm really not an IT professional. Okay.
I'm as far from it as you can get without, like, I don't know, finding somebody that lives on an island off of India somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe lives on an island off of Venezuela. Sorry, no politics.
Sorry, moving on.
moving swiftly on. So we're going to review our predictions from last year. So we had our predictions episode in episode 452, in which we talked about our 2025 predictions. Bill, do you want to start off with what yours were? And let's see how right you were.
Well, I feel 1 point coming. And I don't think I was too far off logically with some of these. I got to tell you, I had 4 of them, and the first one was Canonical will announce AI features for an upcoming release of Ubuntu. I don't think that has happened as such.
No, not as specifically, no.
No, not for a specific update, though there has been some back channel whispering, I suppose.
But you are getting open source projects leveraging AI, aren't we? You know, Brave have their own, Firefox has gone down that bandwagon as well. So whilst it wasn't Canonical, it was still open source companies actually.
Yeah.
And open source projects. They did try and jump onto the astronomical grifty tech bubble that is AI.
I've become a big fan of, well, I say big fan. I've started using, since I was completely against the whole thing when I wrote that last year. This year, I don't know that I've jumped on the bandwagon, but I began using Duck.ai, and I actually even pay for the advanced service to get access to a couple of the more up-to-date chatbots, and it is... I'm sorry, but it has completely changed the way I search for information on the internet, because it really wades through all the weeds. I'll tell you the trick to using it correctly is wording your questions well.
Yeah, there is a art in prompting.
Yeah.
In the question that you ask. I mean, we've talked a lot about this on here and other podcasts about how AI is actually a good technology. It's just the shoehorning it of everything into everything.
Yeah.
That's what's annoying most people. In of
This
itself,
makes me think-
some of it is really good.
I want to see the rebirth of Ask Jeeves.
Yes.
I wonder who
That's where
owns
we've
that.
got to,
Somebody's
innit?
got to own that, and they're just waiting for the right moment to land on the scene with it. It'll be the next.
Instead of being that classic English butler, it'll be an android butler. You know?
Dressed like a butler, though, but you'll
Yeah.
like
Android
bolts
metal
sticking out of his
dressed like a
head and everything. Yeah, we're just giving people ideas for free. You're welcome. Okay, so then I say, okay, here comes my point. Oh no, I got.
No, it's not your point.
Yeah,
You didn't get a point for
I'm
the next
getting ahead
one
of
either.
myself. Apple will announce a new, less expensive AR headset.
Well, you got that 50% right in that they did announce a new one. It wasn't less expensive.
No.
You know,
Lord
apparently
mercy.
it has been a complete bomb. They've only sold 45,000.
Well, the last one they hardly sold because it was like $3,000 or something.
No. I mean, they've only sold 45,000 of the original one.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
Yeah, because
So,
it was so
the-
expensive. Nobody.
it was
Yeah,
too
there's no-
expensive,
there's-
and they're not marketing it for gamers because they're marketing it to people to use to have virtual meetings and such. And people don't like sitting in front of a camera, let alone completely virtualized in a meeting.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
can I
yeah.
get a witness? You know, that's honestly, that's never going to be a thing unless you're forced into it. And there's only going to be a few employers that are going to spend money to force people to do things that they don't want to do. So I don't know, that was a wet fart to begin with.
But your next one is definitely true. Although to be fair, it was, it's kind of like saying in this year stuff will happen. The end. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's pretty obvious.
what I said was TikTok will not be bought by an American company, but will also not be shut down. And I had just the other day heard that, I don't know, Trump said something about we're pretty much I think we're going to be going ahead and signing that deal today. You know how it is.
Bullshit.
2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, we'll be going ahead and say, and here we are in 2026. So, point for Bill. Thank you very much. That's all we'll say about that. Wayland will become standard in. By the way, I don't care anymore. When I wrote this, it bothered me, the idea of an American company buying TikTok. But what has happened to TikTok, it's been... what's a friendly way to say the word that happens to... Huh?
Villainized?
I mean, it's become crap. It's really... I used to love it.
Enshittification?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to hear...
Enshittified.
Yeah, it's been enshittified to a oomph degree. I still look at it. I still enjoy looking at it. But if I look at 10 videos on there, 7 of them are people that are trying to be monetized. That's really... And I get it, but, I mean, there needs to be a little bit better balance, and there doesn't seem to be any effort in doing that. All right, so my last one, Will. I don't know why I put this in.
Yeah, I don't know why you put it as well, because we all knew that it was going to be
No,
2026 anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you thought about this.
We told you when you put it in that it was not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have put it in just to have this kind of conversation, because I tend to do well. Wayland will become standard in Cinnamon, and nobody will notice. And
that is a good thing. If that, I think that is the whole thing with Wayland is if you don't notice it, it means it's worked.
I wonder though, because we're coming into this game, or we will be coming into this game rather late, and yes, a lot of problems have been fixed, but I'm betting there's still a lot of edge cases that are really legacy with Mint users, because we're used to. I mean, Mint. If we've got any shtick out there at all, it's the fact that things just work with Mint. So you've got to take your time and get it right. And in fact, if that means that Wayland does not come out until 2027 or even 2028, I struggle to care. It's interesting. I struggle to care about it coming out on Mint, but on Arch, I wanted it 10 years ago. That's an interesting thing.
You're an Arch, do you, Bill?
I've tried it once or twice.
Really? I had no idea.
I don't know if it's for me or not.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's normally for, people who are idiots, and, so.
I agree. I don't care about Wayland on Cinnamon. Whenever it comes, it comes.
Yeah. And that's because the reason I use Mint on this machine is because I need things to work instead of a big purple screen saying kernel. I have never seen that before. When I fired up and I was getting ready to come in here and do the show today, kernel panic with a big. It was like it was making fun of me. It had a.
That's Ubuntu's kernel panic screen. I've seen it before.
Have you seen that? And there's a penguin in the upper left
corner. I've not seen it on Mint, but I've seen it on Ubuntu.
Sure, I don't know what I did. But yeah, I bought one of these big cooling towers because I've got an overclocked CPU, and I just could not get that thing to stay below 85 degrees. So, and that's Celsius, kids. AI told me to get a better cooling system for it, so I bought one of these things. Let's see how it goes. But yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. Majid, you've got like 30 of them on here, so you better get started.
Yeah, this was my problem is that I just like come out with loads of stuff, and then all this means is that I'm going to be wrong more. Do you know what I mean? It's like somebody told me on my annual appraisal that don't put too many things in as plans for the next year, because then if you don't do them all, you get into trouble, which is a fair point. Anyway, but having said that, I think I did have some wins. So SteamOS will become widely available to install on other hardware, further driving Linux market. All this kind of stuff. I think it's the shoehorning of it into everything that's what annoys a lot of people. Yeah, those were mine. So kind of right ideas but wrong conclusions, or correct conclusions but for the wrong reasons. Story of my life, really. Do you know what I mean? Somehow managed to be wrong. Even when I'm right, I'm wrong.
You've been talking to your wife too much.
Yeah. So, Eric isn't with us today, but we thought it'd be useful just to talk about what he had as his predictions, because I think he was spot on quite a lot. I think the new administration in the US is going to greenlight just about every pro-big business tech item. For instance, net neutrality is dead. Google's antitrust case will be dropped. AI companies will face zero scrutiny for their rampant theft of IP. List goes on. Suffice to say, any momentum that the FTC was able to achieve is forfeit. That's just depressingly true, isn't it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's all kind of gotten put on the back burner. So yeah, I mean, big companies are getting away with whatever they want.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even in the news now because there's other stuff happening, which is even more crazy. So it isn't. You don't even hear anything about it. I genuinely have not. Can't remember the last time I saw a news article about net neutrality. Genuinely can't remember. Eric continues. Contrary to my prediction for 2024, AI hype will not die, but in fact continue to be shoved into any use case that's even remotely plausible, and even many that are completely implausible and laughable. But hey, there's gold in them AI hills. It just speaks to the overall lack of innovation, creativity in the tech industry. I think we'll give him that one, shall we? And finally, venture capital firms will keep tightening their belts, and money will continue to dry up for companies that operate at a loss year over year, and have no plan to make a profit. The list of failed companies is long and will keep getting longer. What do we think about that? Has that happened?
Me?
I can't actually. It is true that there are companies that operate at a loss year over year, and but nobody's gone out of business yet.
Well, they're still making money. I mean, but they're not really, spreading the love on it.
I mean, the things that comes to mind, if anything, is some of the fintech stuff. The new banks or the Klarnas or the things like that, Monzo, Starling, Revolut, this kind of stuff. But they're still going. They keep operating. Some of them keep operating at a loss, but they're still going. They're still doing well. So nobody's actually failed significantly, I don't think, unless anyone can think of something. I can't think of a big company that has.
Gone under.
Yeah. Cool. All right then, Joe. You did the sensible thing of having not that many. So go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. The Steam Deck did a lot to increase the metrics for how many users of Linux there are out there. I think the release of SteamOS will make those numbers go up even more. So yeah, basically the same thing as yours. And while the number of Linux users has gone up, I'm going to say that it's not really related to the Steam Deck this year as much as it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and SteamOS still really isn't out there and available, but that should change when the Steam PC comes out later this year. Okay, so my next thing was we will hear less and less about AI, and it will fade into the background of our lives. Either that or everybody loses their jobs. And I've seen a lot of people lose their jobs, but still, I would also call this wrong. Now here's my big win for my last one, and obviously, I'm pretty sure it's right. The economy is going to suck, unless, of course, you are a billionaire. And
I mean, that was low-hanging fruit, though, wasn't it? Let's be completely honest.
You gotta have one easy win.
Yeah, that was like Bill-style low-hanging fruit. That was.
Hey.
Hey, I predict that the sun will come up tomorrow.
Oh, really? I mean, actually, in England, you never know, to be fair. All right, so, lads, what are we predicting for 2026? Go ahead, Joe. You start us off.
I'm up first now. Okay, AI will not go away, but will hopefully be heard about less. The demand for RAM that was caused by it will not be much lessened, so prices are going to get worse before they get better in this new year for RAM. And considering how disgusting RAM prices are right now, that's still a hard one.
I mean, that is, yeah. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Actually, I mean, isn't it affecting SSDs as well?
I haven't seen the effect on SSDs, but I do know that like RAM prices are 2 or 3 or in some cases 4 times higher than they were previously, especially for like DDR5. But I understand that it's also going to impact DDR4 pricing soon, and that some companies that were going to be phasing out DDR4 are now continuing to make DDR4. So I've also heard that it's very specialized RAM that's being made for these AI companies. So even if they do, burst the whole AI bubble and start releasing all this hardware, it's not really going to be useful to
Yeah.
consumers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my next prediction. Microsoft will push harder for upgrades to Windows 11 by decreasing the functionality of 10 by updating 11 applications and not 10. So as time goes on, your Windows 10 will become less and less viable of a solution, and they are going to try and force you to upgrade your hardware so that you can get Windows 11.
So I think you're right in the sense that Microsoft will push harder for upgrades. I'm not sure that decreasing of functionality of Windows 10 will actually make any difference to that, because people will find ways around that.
Yeah, but that's what they're going to try and do.
Because there is actually one thing they could do to increase Windows 11 adoption, but they're not going to do that, and that is to drop the hardware requirements.
Right.
Gosh sakes, that would win some points, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And that would be, I mean, the goodwill that they would get by doing that is, I think, would be worthwhile.
Will they though? I mean, there's going to be what about if you were the poor sucker that bought a new machine because you wanted because you had to use Windows 11, and now you find out it was all right.
Yeah, no matter what they do, they're still going to, get flack for it. I mean, if they did reduce the requirements, everybody's going to be saying, "Oh, all that crap you said about security was just wrong, was it?"
Yeah.
Or something similar.
But they could always say that. Well, we've introduced some AI powered technology to do some of the things. They could always say some other kind of crap.
Yeah, they'll bullshit their way out of it in that sense. Yeah, I mean, in one sense, they're always, they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't now. Yeah. I'm talking about now. I mean, the decisions at the beginning, they should never have made those decisions at the beginning in the first place. But now, it's like, okay, what do you do? Do you have to find yourself back supporting Windows 10? Do you find, how... Yeah, so whatever they do is now just a case of which is the least worst option for them.
They would do well to understand the security implication behind not allowing it, because, okay, now I know no fewer than 6 people that still have machines running Windows 10, and I'm not exaggerating. They have no intention of moving on from it whatsoever. They will run it until the browser stops working, until the software that they run on it stops working. You know
what would work? If Google Chrome didn't support Windows 10.
Oh. Yeah,
and that's never going to happen, by the way. But
no.
I'm just saying.
Firefox isn't going to do that either, because that would not
forget that. Forget Firefox, man. Oh, there's half people don't even know it exists anymore. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was your next one then, Joe?
The last one. Okay, so for this next year, I predict that drones are going to be big business as wars continue.
Yeah, I think that's quite. The interesting thing would be which companies and which countries will do well. So, for example, apparently, Azerbaijan in their war, which was about a year, 18 months ago, maybe, with Armenia. All their drones came from Turkey, and Turkey made a shitload of money from those drones. And when the India-Pakistan stuff kicked off about 9-10 months ago, again, Turkey was there selling drones, I think to both sides probably. So it would just be interesting to see which of the, because everybody assumes that it's the military industrial complex, it's America or it's France or it's the UK or whatever, but actually I reckon it might be other places that you don't know about or are less famous, shall we say?
Well, Ukraine has been, building a lot of their own drones. So I don't know if they're just investing in drone parts or if they have their own industrialization for it. But if they were to get their issues cleared up, I imagine they could make, quite a pretty penny building drones for the rest of the world to go to war with.
Very true. Very true. Okay, go on then. Bill, your predictions.
Alrighty then. Well, okay. DuckDuckGo will release a version of their Chromium-based AI browser for Linux. I call it an AI browser because what's the point otherwise? For those that don't know, DuckDuckGo, of course, is a privacy-focused search engine. Yeah, opinions abound about that because it is based in the United States. They have a Chromium-based browser of their own, but it's only available for the mobile platforms and for Windows at current. And there is absolutely no technical reason why they can't make a version for Linux. I'm not saying I would use it because I'm a Firefox guy, and DuckDuckGo and DuckAI works perfectly well in Firefox. But I see that happening this year for Linux. Nothing? Okay, moving on.
No, I'm just thinking about this one. Why would they bother making it if you can just use any other browser like Firefox or Brave or whatever to get onto DuckDuckAI? Is it worth their while for the?
Well,
I know we're more of a market share than we were 12 months ago, but still, is it worth it for them?
The thing is, if you're only in Firefox, all you have is the search traffic, and that's it. Once we go outside of the search, you've lost all of the valuable metrics that you could gather or participation, I guess. I guess metrics is not a good word to use when talking about DuckDuckGo, but I would think that they would want the usership from top to bottom, and it would. The thing is, it would cost them so little in terms of development because it's just Chromium. It's basically just packaging it and making it available, and that's it. And even if it was only a flat pack, I think it would apply here, because flat pack has become, for anybody that wants to follow more up to date versions of software, that's become about the best way to do it, my opinion anyway.
The next one is extremely low hanging fruit.
Yep, Wayland will definitely be default in some Cinnamon versions, in some version of Cinnamon during 2026. Yep.
I don't know if that's 100%. I mean, default?
Yeah, well, and I thought about that when I put that in. Like, well, I don't know that I feel that we're any closer now than we were a year ago at this point.
I think the important point is that you said in some version of Cinnamon, not some version of Mint. Because you can get Cinnamon on other desktops. Apparently, there's this one called Arch, which apparently, you can put everything on.
But it's fair to say that if Wayland works on Cinnamon, it would be because of the Mint developers. So.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree entirely. But I'm just saying the way you worded it is interesting.
And didn't Clem say that it was happening this year?
He said that 2 years ago, right? Or a year and a half ago. And so, there's a lot. It's taken a long time for the Linux world in general to move over to it, and that was irritating for some people. Not so much for others. If you were an NVIDIA guy, you almost I would imagine some NVIDIA people were probably fearing the day that actually happened, and then there was just no way to use X anymore. But some of that seems to be worked out and better now. But like I said, Mint has to be. I could see that it's plausible that you could get Wayland by default on Cinnamon for something like Arch, and it would be available but not default on Mint, just because there are still edge cases to be worked out. It makes sense to me.
X Wayland handles most of those.
Yeah, we've got a reputation of things just working, and I mean that has to. There's no exception to that rule, honestly, or there shouldn't be for something like Mint. All right, this is a juicy one, I think. Intel will end full-time support of the Intel microcode package, making AMD the only safe option moving forward for first-class Linux support. And I say that because there's been a lot of backpedaling on the part of Intel as to their support for open source.
Really?
Yeah, there's been some layoffs. They've literally come out and said that they are considering changing their attitude and their investment in open source because they feel as though it is helping their competitors.
Eh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So Red Hat's going closed source?
It AMD all the way, buddy.
Well, I mean, I'm happy that you put this in, and you told me that because I've just ordered an AMD PC today.
Yeah.
So, but
way to go. Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't realized that. But then, isn't Intel as a company in a bit of trouble anyway? Haven't there been problems, with their financials for a couple of years now?
I think there is, and I think this is part of their knee-jerk reaction to that, is that they're probably reacting to it, believing that if they need to make cuts, it needs to be in the things that are not benefiting Intel and Intel only.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
well, stuff that isn't making them shitloads of money, basically.
Right. Exactly.
Stuff which is more in the red than in the black. Okay, I mean okay, fine, fair enough. So, Jim, first lot of predictions. Popping your virgin cherry for this one.
Okay. Well, I predicted that at least one major Linux distro goes Wayland only. That's probably not a very brave prediction. It's likely to happen.
I mean, you've said one more major, okay. Most of the major ones have happened, haven't they? I mean, okay, we've said Mint hasn't, but
Yeah.
a lot of the others kind of have, haven't they?
Has Ubuntu gone Wayland only?
yes.
The last 2510 was.
Yes.
Didn't
But
even have a
that's-
fallback session.
You can't. Well, it can't be said that the LTS is gone Wayland only. I
Yeah.
guess. So,
Yeah, because that's the LTS is the important one.
Right.
'Cause that's when
Yeah.
you know that they're not going to be going back. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Fedora's Wayland. Arch, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Debian? No?
Debian isn't, no. Debian isn't. Fair point. Mint isn't, as we've said. I don't know about OpenSUSE.
Debian has with GNOME, yeah. 'Cause
Wayland only.
Yeah, I mean GNOME has. So
Well, yeah, no. Okay.
I mean, if I'm wrong, again, somebody.
Yes, because we've got a great track record at the minute.
Yeah.
No, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, then I predicted at least one desktop environment gets abandoned or deprecated. Not necessarily a major one, but
I agree with you on this, actually. I agree with you on this. Because, I mean, a little preview to my wanderings. I was playing around with a couple of other different desktop environments. And I really noticed how behind, if you want to put it that way, desktops such as Mate, XFCE, Budgie, Unity have become. And I've now know that certain ones have stopped. I mean, Ubuntu Unity, for example, is no longer an official flavor because the main developer's now gone to university and so is too busy. And so actually, I think you're right, actually. I think that'll happen. I don't know which one it will be necessarily, but I think one of the big players, I reckon. I reckon Mate, personally. But yeah, no, that's good. That sounds plausible.
All right. My third prediction was that Microsoft announces a successor operating system to Windows 11. I think potentially because of all the issues they've had, people not taking to it. I don't know if they'll call it Windows 12 or they'll just rename it something just to sort of rebrand it to try to
11.1
back.
Kind of like 8 and 8.1, that kind of thing.
Oh, dude, they're gonna make it Windows 12, and you'll have to have a 10th gen or below to make it work. So everybody that went to the pawn shop and got a 9th gen to get Windows 11 to work are gonna have to buy new PCs again.
They can't even get Windows 11 adoption.
Well, that's the thing. I think they're disappointed in the adoption rate for Windows 11. So they might actually, instead of using a number, they might give it a name. Remember like the Windows Millennium Edition, and things like that.
Like Service Pack, almost like when you had like XP Service Pack 2, 1 and 2, and then Vista had something like that as well.
Respawn said 11.1.
I'm telling you, I reckon
they've done that one before.
Is possible. Yeah, they did 8 and 8.1. So yeah 11.1 is
8.2.
Was it 8.2 or 8.1? I don't.
It's 8.1, man.
It was 8.2.
8.1.
I think it was 8.1.
Yeah, it was 8.1. I know because I had it. I upgraded. I distinctly remember upgrading from 8 to 8.1. I'm being a bit disappointed.
I remember that when they did that change, that they lost a lot of the functionality that the original 8 had.
Yes. It actually it was I mean that's a very, very long conversation, isn't it? The whole Windows 8 story, which we'll park for the time being, to put it that way. That's an interesting one. I like that one, Jim. And you've also got a hot take.
I do. A hot take that Adobe announces their intention to make a version of Photoshop or the Creative Suite available for Linux. I think the time might be now with the, increased percentage of Linux out there, the amount of people clamoring for it. The fact that they've lost some people, for example, on the video editing side, to DaVinci Resolve. Linux now is become significant enough. If you think it's 5% or whatever, Mac is only like 14. So, it's not that far off. I mean, it's almost triple in fairness, but we're getting there, so I think they might just finally go for it.
It's a possibility, actually. I think it's more of a possibility than it would have been, say, this time last year. I remember me and you, Bill, talking about this on an OTC about 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So, you could. It would be...
I don't think they have to make a specific Linux version one. I mean, with all the advances in Wine...
Yeah, Proton. Yeah.
They could just talk to Valve and get some kind of deal and be up and running in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So, that's my hot take. We'll see.
Okay, so I obviously haven't learned about not having too many predictions, and I put a whole bunch of predictions. But okay. First one, it will be the year of the Linux desktop. I just wanted to say that, just because.
Every year.
I feel like music should be playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about, I've literally just said it's the year of the Linux desktop because that makes it incredibly vague, and I can then define it however I like. If I say, for example, it's the year of the Linux desktop, if we hit 6% and we're on 5.5 right now or something, then I've got it. Do you know what I mean? It's called gerrymandering.
Well, we did talk about how the numbers might be skewed a bit, and all the unknown ones are probably some type of Linux desktop. So that's like another 7 percentage points there.
Exactly. But on a more serious note, I think it has been good this last year that we've seen the the Linux market share going up. We're seeing, gamers going towards it. I saw a fantastic comment on a YouTube video that Copilot has done more for Linux than Windows 11, which I thought was brilliant.
Oh wow.
So so I think it's good. As I said, I'm getting normies asking me. I'm getting a lot of people. Even one guy who is a diehard Apple guy. He's like, I'm making a gaming rig. I'm going to go Linux. I'm like, whoa, okay. You know what I mean? So I think as I said, I've left it vague, but the idea is that I think things will continue improving. I think the next one's maybe a little bit of low hanging fruit. More Ubuntu flavors are going to disappear, be less supported. As I said, I know that Ubuntu Unity is pretty much it's not going to be maintained anymore. Ubuntu Martin Wimpress has moved off that because he's got other stuff that he's doing. He's got his own distro actually, an immutable Nix, I think, which my brain doesn't compute that yet. And like some of the other ones, even if they're LTSs, their LTS support is only for 2 years or 3 years. I think Ubuntu Cinnamon is one of those that is it's only going to be supported for a year or something like that. So I actually think that might be a good thing. It would mean that people sit and concentrate on. It's one thing we always complain about, isn't it? Oh, fragmentation of the Linux system and ecosystem. Everybody's doing their own thing. Why don't we just get together and do stuff? And I know that's a bit of a facetious argument, but actually, there is a culling of the herd might actually be a culling of the GNU herd. That's it. That's a brilliant pun. Can't believe I came up with that. Is probably not a bad thing actually. Windows on ARM and by extension on Linux will die. Ooh, I'm getting a bit of an echo. Anybody else getting that?
I heard it. I don't know where it came from.
Okay, no idea. Okay, yeah. So, Windows on ARM and by extension on Linux will die. And I think I don't actually say this with any joy at all because, as I said, I invested in a Snapdragon X Elite laptop, and it's not taken off, and Linux support hasn't been anything like what Qualcomm said it would be. There were specific vendors like Tuxedo Computers who are going to make devices with these chips in, and they've given up on it. And so, yeah, I think that I suppose, Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I mean, there is still you can still get an Ubuntu ISO, and I think there's a Fedora one as well. But I mean, when I tried the Ubuntu one last time, it was an alpha. It wasn't even a bloody beta, and they sent it out as a full release. I mean, it was basically an alpha. The next one is also one which I'm not saying with any joy, and I really, really hope I'm wrong. But I think Firefox might die this year. I was shocked to hear that it's down to 3% market share now. And that's just not sustainable. It just isn't.
You say that.
Okay, I'll finish my point first. Because and then on top of that, every decision that Mozilla have been making over the last 18 months, 2 years, has made things worse. It's almost as if they're trying to tank the project. Do you know what I mean? It's, whether it's the more recent things about AI and, making an AI browser, or whether it's, some of the other stuff that they've done in the past. It's just like, it's almost, as I said, it's almost like you're doing this on purpose, right? And I follow Harlan's razor, don't ascribe to malice, that which can be adequately described by incompetence. And if that's the case, then the management team are really incompetent. And the thing is that people I know who have been long-term Firefox users, not necessarily Linux users, but Firefox users, a lot of them are just getting fed up with the fact that more and more websites don't work as well. And they're finding themselves moving over to Chromium-based browsers. As I said, I really hope I'm wrong. I really do.
I'm just
Go
gonna
ahead, Joe.
point out that that they're probably not going to die completely because Alphabet is going to continue to prop them up forever in perpetuity. So that way
Money
they have
wise,
a
yeah.
competitor
Yeah,
so that they're not a monopoly.
yeah.
Right.
Fair point. Fair point.
And that's worth every
Which
penny
is
to
probably
Alphabet.
why the Firefox team feels like that they can take these chances until they find something that actually is profitable for them.
Is it possible? I didn't put this in. I'm just asking this as a question. Is it possible that Firefox would go over to Blink and go Chromium based? Is that a possibility?
No, I doubt it. I doubt it because then there's not competition. There's an argument then that it is no longer competition if it's based on Chromium. So
Okay.
I don't think so. But it's it would be more profitable for them to continue getting money from Alphabet if they did not go Chromium.
Okay.
Or if Alphabet were to release Chromium and then still, keep Chrome based on it, but let other people handle all the back end crap.
But isn't a lot of Chromium open source anyway?
Well,
Everything but the
development.
APIs, and all
Yeah.
the stuff on the back end that makes it actually work on the internet. Yeah, the browser itself is open source, but the wow, I'm no developer, but there's stuff that it has to connect to that is not open source.
Is this like the whole? I know it's a different thing, but is it kind of like the Google Play services and Android kind of thing, where yes, you can run Android, but if you ain't got Google Play services, it's not as. It's not the same
I
experience.
suppose Chromium isn't usable without the Google stuff. Yeah, you would just have to use other APIs, if that.
But then you might as well be Firefox at that point.
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, this one's kind of similar to what Bill said about there'll be more AI browsers, but I think Apple is going to abandon AI. They're already kind of writing it out of history. Apple Intelligence? What Apple Intelligence? Did we talk about Apple Intelligence? I don't remember anything about Apple Intelligence.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I think what we're misinterpreting here is that Apple is not trying to lean on the marketing, all of the crap that goes behind the word AI.
I disagree. I think personally, Apple wanted to get on the AI gravy train, right? They'd seen ChatGPT, they'd seen Google Gemini, Bard, and then Google Gemini, and then the other kind of players, and decided that they wanted to have their own first-party AI solution. They called it Apple Intelligence. They use that to market stuff, and it has been a complete disaster from an engineering standpoint. And now it's like, they've been talking about they may well still integrate AI into some of their things, but it will be Google Gemini servers that are under their control, that kind of thing. It's not their own first party. That's my point. Their own first party developed in-house replacement for Siri type of thing, in the same way that Gemini is taken over from Google Assistant.
Yeah, okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah. So yeah. Because as I said, they've just quietly they just never talk about it now, ever. This one is don't know if it's actually going to happen or not, but there's a lot of chatter about it on the mobile tech websites that there might well be a foldable iPhone. There has been talk that a lot of the the iFold, I know. I still remember, tangent. I still remember when the iPad came out and the amount of jokes that used to go around about, iPads. Is it for a woman's time of the month? Is it? Or something like that at that time. So I don't know how. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Oh, I get
iPhone.
it. Pad. Okay, yeah. Moving on.
Now you've got it. Now you've got it. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw that penny drop right there in real time. Okay. Yeah, because there was a lot of talk that why the hell did Apple make the iPhone Air? Who was asking for an iPhone with less battery? Who was asking for it? Right? And that actually, and it's not sold well. It's been cancelled for the next year. But actually, was it more of an engineering thing about seeing how much they could fit into how thin a chassis, and then make a foldable screen around it? That might be true, and the fact that, as I said, there's some really good ones out there now, maybe, but I still don't think it'll happen actually. But I've got to put a bit of a hot take type of one as well, like Jim had, so I thought I'd put that in. And then actually the last one I'm going to take out because it's low hanging fruit, which is the silicon carbon batteries will become more mainstream, because actually they have become mainstream. Unless you're, as long as you're not Apple, Google, or Samsung, every other manufacturer has gone for these silicon carbon cells rather than these standard lithium ion ones, and you get ridiculous amount of battery capacity. My OnePlus 15 has a capacity of 7,500 milliamps in a chassis that's exactly the same as last year's phone. It's ridiculous. It lasts for 3 days. I've never had this kind of endurance before. Don't make a joke there, Joe.
The joke made itself.
Yeah, as I was saying, I thought, shit, that was a bad phrase first. Anyway, so
No, the big companies will switch to it eventually, now that they've seen it work so well for the smaller companies.
yeah. So that was my point of that. There's probably no point even having that there. So anyway, so I've taken that one out. But yes, so those are our predictions, and we will get back to it in a year's time and see how right I am and how wrong Bill is. Moving on, we're on to that bit of the program that everybody loves, the bi-weekly wanderings. Time for Bill. Take it away.
The wanderings are monthly at most, and now it's been 6 weeks, just FYI.
Yeah, we need to get rid of that bi-weekly part in the
yeah, we should actually. Yeah, good point. Let's just call it the wanderings. I mean, I've always said that bi-weekly was wrong anyway, because bi-weekly meant twice a week, but I mean, you Americans thought it was fine. So I just staying with it.
No, you don't put you Americans into that. It was one or two Americans that don't like change. You can blast the whole thing off the face of the earth and start over, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so
you're just mad about your tower falling down again.
Yeah, and I'm having another problem now, and I don't know what it is. This is not the. I'll get into it.
Yes, this is good content as per usual.
I keep having to switch from my getting my sound from the Scarlett to the plugging it directly into the tower. It keeps. This is not the machine I'm going to use full time.
Dude, just start with the wanderings.
Right on. Okay, so I ended up working the week of Christmas, but then only worked 2 days the week of New Year's. During the time off, I did 2 PC builds, which are clearly not done yet. Okay, so my first one that I'm not using at the present moment is an Asus TUF Gaming X570 Plus board with a Ryzen 7 5700X. Radeon Pro W7600, 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RAM, Red Dragon RGPS 850W, 850 watt power supply, a Samsung 980 Pro 2 terabyte NVMe. That's for Linux stuff. And then I got a Samsung 980 Evo Plus 256 gigabyte NVMe for Windows, and that's only going on there so I could keep the BIOS up to date. Seagate Iron Wolf 2 terabyte spinning Rust, and that's for like all of my working files for show editing and things like that. And that's all sitting in a Gamdius, if I said that right, ATX mid-tower gaming computer PC case, and it's got all the RGB gubbins in it and everything like that. So it's actually kind of cool to look at with the glass side and everything. So
How much RAM? 32 gigs.
32 gig.
You're just throwing money at this thing, aren't you?
Well, I already had the 32 gigs in that HP that I've retired. So I pulled that out and put it in this thing. And then I ordered another. I was going to go 64. I ordered another 32 gig of Corsair Vengeance, but it's got a different. You got to watch the numbers on these things because
different clock speed.
No, same clock speed, different version, which means the one that I pulled out of the HP that I put into that machine has a Samsung chipset. The ones I ordered off of eBay last week have a what's the other one? I can't remember the other big RAM maker. That chipset, and you can mix them, but you could run into stability doing that, and it's just not worth it to get up over 32. There's nothing I'm gonna do that I'm gonna need more than 32 gigs of RAM to do. So I went ahead and decided to take the other 32 gig, and I put it into this machine, which I'll get to in a minute, but. The thing about the first machine that I just described was the motherboard had clearly been sitting around for a while because it was not updated to run the 5700 line. I guess they pushed a BIOS update in 2021 to make it compatible with that new line of AMD CPUs. Which means it will not even post with the Ryzen 7 5700X. And I do not have the ability with that particular card to do a BIOS upgrade without it at least posting to the BIOS. So I got on eBay and just ordered a cheap Ryzen 3. It's like a second gen or something like that, Ryzen 3. That way I could slap it in there, get it to post, update the BIOS, and then put the CPU in it that I want to run. And that's all theory right now. That's what AI told me to do. And so off I go.
Weren't you saying about how great Duck AI was and how it's really helped you and all this kind of stuff, and now here we are.
Well, this is what I did not ask Duck AI what CPU. I asked it what CPU that board supports, but I didn't ask did it need it. Well, it did say that you might need a BIOS update. To be fair, it did say that, but I ignored it and just ordered the CPU, slapped it in there, and sure enough, it was not an updated BIOS on that board, and the board came with no CPU, so I was really left wanting at that point. But it's fine. I found an old Ryzen 3 for like $40. No big deal. I'll order that and I'll keep it.
I mean, I have got to be honest. It does look pretty nice. That when you look at just look at the specs, you think to yourself, you know what? It's not a bad machine. That.
Well, this one right here is not bad either. Okay, so the second build. Now I built this with stuff I had sitting around, and I've got a lot of stuff sitting around.
I was gonna say I worry about your basement, man.
Yeah.
Look, I just managed to find an Intel Arc A380 GPU just lying around.
Well, you guys remember when I bought that Arc. I wanted to use that on the machine, the HP, about a year ago, and that machine will not post with the Arc in it. So I put the Arc in. Okay, so this one's an Asus Z170, which is about a circa 2015 era machine. I have an Intel. It came with an i5, like 7th gen i5. I pulled that out and I put a 6th gen i7 that is unlocked and overclocked and ready to rock. It's a beefy processor, but it draws a lot of electricity and it gets really, really hot. I put the Arc in it, and that's what I'm using right now to make the show. That's also got 32. This in here has also got 32 gig of Corsair Vengeance RAM.
Got the big money over there.
Well, like I said, this is stuff I had sitting around, except for that Corsair. Yeah, that, I guess, to be fair, I did order that, but I didn't pay. I think I only paid $65 for that on eBay. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. Again, the Red Dragon. I've got about 4 of these Red Dragon 850 watt, fully modular power supplies. I love these things.
I might ask you to send me one of them.
Yeah,
I don't.
I wouldn't mind paying for it.
You can get them used, sometimes not too bad of a price. It might not come with every single one of the cords that it originally came with, but gosh, I only use about half of them anyway, if that. This one's got a Samsung 980 Pro 500 gigabyte NVMe, and that's the only NVMe on this board. But I did put a 2.5-inch Seagate FireCuda 2 terabyte spinning rust in it, just to have someplace to put the media files. Now, because this thing gets so hot, the CPU in this thing, you could fry an egg on it. I paid out the yin yang for this thing, this Noctua NH-D15 Chrome Max Black Dual Tower CPU cooler. If you look this thing up, do not underestimate the size. I am not kidding you. It's about 8 inches by 8 inches by 8 inches by 8 inches. It is a monster of a CPU cooler. It barely fit in this big Zalman i3 Neo ATX mid-tower case. It literally goes all the way from...
One thinks you're overcompensating for something.
Well, without it, I just could not keep the
excessive heat in Indiana. That's what he's compensating.
Oh, yeah. I got 3 heaters pointing at me right now. Maybe I could have just put that tower down on the floor and it would have kept my legs warm, but...
Use the cement as a heat sink? Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, the gubbins in this machine are older, less efficient, use more power, especially when overclocked, which it's...
Okay. Quick question on the FireCuda. If I remember right, the FireCuda is the one with the SSD for caching, right?
It's got some flash built into it. I couldn't tell you that it makes it any, because it's picky about what it actually puts into the flash. There's some firmware running, and I think it's probably mostly written for Windows, and it's picky about what it puts in it. I've only ever used it for block storage. I've never really... I've not put an operating system on.
My understanding was that it was helpful until you started moving large volumes of things.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Onto or off of the drive, because then it would max out the cache and you'd be running at the same speed as everything else. So.
I think once SSDs became more prolific, the whole concept of a flash cache on a spinning rust kind of went away.
This was lower cost than an SSD when it came out.
Yeah.
And so you were able to get this instead of paying the atrocious amounts of money at the time that you had for SSDs. Now, granted, SSDs have come down in price, blah, et cetera. All right, we need to move on. It's getting late.
Yep. So, okay, so that, like I said, that's why I went with the rather aggressive Noctua dual tower cooler. The amount of heat this processor puts out is considerable. Both of these machines were kind of a Christmas gift to myself. I pulled most of the additions I made to the HP TP1 2000.
Does nobody else give you Christmas gifts, Bill?
No, not really.
All right. Poor Bill.
Yeah,
It's
well,
such a
If you want it done
sad
right,
story.
sometimes you just got to do it yourself.
it is. Everybody is well aware that I'm not an easy person to buy for, because the things that I want are not things
Nobody's
that,
ever heard of.
No, yeah, people don't understand any of this stuff, so I took that machine that I'd been just having so many video problems. You guys know that I've only ever got one video card to work here lately on it, and that was the Fire Pro, 50 W5100 or something like that. And so I took all the extra stuff out of it, put the original stuff back in, put Windows 11 on it, and then I slid it under my desk, and that's where it's sitting right now. It's still a very capable machine. It was up over $1,000 base price when I bought it, and that was just with a cheap keyboard and a mouse. It didn't even come with a monitor. So it's still a good machine. It's just not good for my use case. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might either donate it or sell it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not big into selling and buying and dealing with people. You know, my dad enjoyed doing that, and for me, it was always I've never been into that adversarial kind of thing. So I don't have any illusions.
Sometimes people do it just to have the money.
And I always just know that I'm going to be the one to get screwed because I'm just not. I do not enjoy the interaction of it.
Selling the things is actually a lot of work too.
Yeah, it is.
So adding more work to your crap.
I would get more value, more intrinsic value out of giving it to somebody who truly needed it. So whatever that, I've said it out loud here on the show, so whatever that morphs into, then we'll see how it goes. But I don't see that I've got any use for it. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's
making a giveaway on the show.
I could, but I feel like we have an international audience, and
Bill has already tried sending stuff abroad, and it's been far more expensive than he thought.
Yeah, it's not. it's tough to do. So, and sell it. Well, I mean, Moss sent me that server, which, I mean, to be fair, that thing takes 2 men and a boy to lift, but that costed almost $80 to send that thing. So I don't know. If you live in Fort Wayne, you can meet me somewhere downtown. I'll give it to you. Somewhere well lit.
Yeah.
So in order to win, all you have to do is live close to Bill. So if you're close to Bill and you're a listener, you won.
There you go. Or drive here. But you got to have a good sob story. You got to have a good sob story why you need a free $1,000 computer. Something that'll get under me.
I mean, anybody turning up to Indiana sounds like that would be good enough.
That's a sob story in itself.
Yeah, it is. Because I don't want to be here, let alone anything else.
All I have to do is say, I'm from Elkhart. It's like, yeah, you need this.
Oh, gosh.
Anywho.
Started a fight.
Moving on, Joe.
Joe's turn.
It has been a while since we have done a Wanderings, and wow, have I been busy. I have tried to cut it back as much as possible and still cover the things I find interesting and will be working more on in the future. And then I am putting off quite a bit to put into the next Wanderings, which hopefully is not 6 weeks away. Now, I took that 8 terabyte drive that I had previously had the issues with and reformatted it, put it back on the mini rack, and rehooked everything up and got it started running again. And that worked for a while. Then I started using it for movies to free up space on another drive. And it, like I said, I did have a lot of trouble resetting up OMV. It was still referenced. We're getting that echo again, and it looks like it's coming from Bill. Referenced by UUID and OMV, and when I passed it back to the VM, it couldn't find the shares that were there previously on the drive, and I couldn't make new ones. So I had to make sure that all the different references were removed, including the ones for NFS that was never used.
OMV meaning Open Media Vault, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I was able to get a few things set up on it, and I was using the unused. I was going to use the unused space for VMs and LXCs. Also, before last Wandering show, some of the mounting gear for my mic went missing, never to be found again. So that was why you had the bad audio, because I had to switch to my backup mic. So I grabbed my 3D printer and some new PLA-F, which is a mixture of PLA and ABS, and I found an SDL that I thought should work. I've never printed with PLAF before, and after the first print failed, I was able to get the bed nozzle temp to the correct ranges. It also seems to need some thicker walls if you want something a bit more rigid, but it's done okay so far. I don't like how loose it's become, so I might print it again in either PLA or PETG. I also got a care package from Bill. There's a tablet that needs the USB port replaced, and a Galaxy Note 10 that I think got more damaged in transit, and the front and back need replace. It's a pain in the butt on those devices, but I do have my heat gun ready for both of them. Like I said, the tablet is going to take a lot of heat and a bunch of patience, and everything else not breaking on me before I can work on it and mail it back to Bill. The phone is going to take about $60 in parts at least, so it's going to wait until I have some extra money and motivation. But I should have a replacement USB port for that tablet in my collection. Although I don't think it's necessarily going to need it, it's probably just going to need to be resoldered down. He also sent a Stadia controller that needed to be converted to Bluetooth, which is a quick fix from their website, or it was. As of December 31st, they no longer offer that functionality. So I'm glad you sent it when you did, Bill, because you can no longer do that. You can no longer convert your Stadia controller from Stadia to Bluetooth. I also 3D printed a GoPro style mount for a phone holder, and I was able to use it to play some games, but I'll get more into that shortly. I had another scare, and this is going to be ongoing throughout this with some of the drives on my NAS when the power went out again for a few seconds, and then when things came back on, there were a couple of issues with starting the VM back up. I was able to get to clear the issue, but I think that if I had a UPS, that it would not be as much of a problem, and I'll be able to keep those drives working for longer. So after much research and missing all the Cyber Monday sales, I went out to Micro Center and picked up a decently priced one. Power at my house never goes out for very long because we are on the same grid as a fire station and an emergency care facility, so I only need the UPS to power the mini rack and possibly my garage PC for a few seconds at a time, and not very often. After that, I was able to hook it up, but I had to bring everything down to do it. I did it the right way, but I thought I needed to work on a power sequence switch for the power supply to the hard drives because I needed to go in again and run FSCK to fix one of the drives that was causing an issue. But since then, it's running well, and I've restarted the node several times, and then shortly after that, it wasn't. Excuse me. I started doing the same thing again, and I even brought the whole system down and ran FSCK from recovery mode, which gave me some new information about some things to think about. With all the drives dropping at the same time, it finally occurred to me that it might not be the drive. I should have realized it sooner, but my M.2 to SATA controller died. But before that, I designed and printed a side mount for my mini rack for 2.5-inch drives for the side of the mini rack. The first design was a bit rough, but worked as a really good proof of concept. After I updated the issues that came up in the first one, a couple of tolerance issues and needing to adjust the temps for better layer adhesion, everything seems to work well. I use the same power supply as the other drives, and I will have to swap out at least one of the drives that was not working, but this one is using a USB-C to M.2 adapter and an M.2 to SATA adapter, and I was able to get all the drives hooked up. Sadly, I had to disconnect them. While I was doing this, I had some issues with bumping the cables to the other hard drives on the rack and them disconnecting. So I took the rack down from the shelf and took it partially apart so that I could remove and rerun some cables to make everything a bit more stable and secure. At the same time, I reran some of the cables for HDMI and Ethernet to the keystone jacks and mounted and routed the power supplies as well. This makes the back and the bottom of the device much neater and easier to work on. That was right before I realized the controller had gone bad that was inside the system. So I ended up taking apart my G3 minis and trying one of the other two adapters that I had, and neither of them worked on the inside, but did work with the USB-C adapter. Well, one of them did, and the other was cooked as well. So I switched to the USB-C adapter and got everything working again, except for the 2.5-inch drives now, which I would have to get another adapter for. While I was doing this, I replaced the fan that was going bad in one of the minis and swapped all the drives from one device to the other, so now that my i7 system has more RAM and is doing all of the heavy lifting instead of the i5. Had to do some config changes, but everything seems pretty good so far. I also noticed that it takes much longer with the USB-C adapter for OMV and my Mint VM to start up. So I'd like to switch back to an internal one eventually, which I did purchase, but I have not put in yet. That'll go in today. But the Mint VM has another problem. Also, moving on from that for a few minutes, one of our listeners that is active on the Discord, Lemon Zest, has been posting about playing Unreal Tournament on Linux. So I decided to give it a try. The install was kind of easy with Steam Proton, just needed to unzip the installer and have Steam added on as a non-Steam game. Run the installer using Proton compatibility, but make sure to point it at the location that you can access. Then an exe is created for the game itself, and you need to go through. Oh, sorry about that. Go through the adding process again and setting it to run using Proton, and it works just fine. I'm sure that there are other ways to do it, but this was the easiest for me at the time. I love this game and Quake Arena, which I have on Steam already. I played through a couple of rounds, and then I got that nostalgia bug and started playing Arcanum. That game takes some time, and I think that I need to add some of the fixes to shorten the transition screens, but I do enjoy playing it and all the crazy things that you can do throughout the game. I also started playing around with GameHub, which is mentioned in one of the articles that we recently covered. I used it to install Steam games on my phone. Wow, it is actually really cool. I pulled out a bunch of my controllers and I did some testing with them, and that seems to work really well. The phone does warm up a bit with just downloading and install, but at the same time that I was doing that download and install, I was also using Dex. And at the same time, I was typing up some notes and chatting with several people on various applications. I have now tried out a few games on it with different settings to see what does and doesn't work. Also tested out the Stadia controller that I mentioned before with the phone mount on it, and it was brilliant. I was not able to get Borderlands 2 working on there or Quake Arena, both of which got to the splash and then crashed, but I was able to get Skyrim working well enough that though it did not look the smoothest, it was playable with mouse and keyboard. The best looking and working game that I had on there has to be Victor Vran, which is an awesome top-down action RPG, and I would say is much more playable with a controller than without. The next test will probably be to see if I can get Unreal set up on there and give it a try. Wow. After all of that work on the mini rack, one of the 8 terabyte drives just plain died. I could not get it to be seen on any computer. That was after I had rehooked all the drives to my other computer and accessed them directly and disconnected them one at a time until I found the one that was the issue. After that, all the drives were easily able to get through FSCK without any problems. The drive stopped being seen shortly after when I had hooked it up alone and was seeing if I could access the data to try to recover. I got everything else hooked back up, and then I started hearing that sound. That hard drive is dying chirp. So another drive is dying. Specifically the one that has the Mint VM and my Nextcloud. The Nextcloud quit working, but I had a snapshot set up, so I was able to restore to another drive and get back up and running without any data loss, thanks to being able to re-upload notes from Joplin. Whew. Beyond that, I had another, and I will discuss more next time on what I had to do with those drives, but beyond that, I had another drive go bad on another machine, specifically the one that I was using as a set-top box in the living room. It is also set up as a Proxmox box that I use to back up for my DNS sinkhole and my WireGuard, so I can bring them back up again, when I'm having problems with the other machine, and obviously it's needed. The one that had an SSD, but the SSD died. Once again, no amount of FSCK would fix it, and so I replaced it with a working spinning disk that I had handy. Does make things a little bit slower, but at least I was able to get it working again. Did the normal install for Proxmox, and used the iVentoy to install Mint into a VM. Yes, I could have set up a share and the image and installed from that, but this was already there. I also hooked up an external drive to it for some extra space so that I can put some slow VMs and containers on there. I still need to copy the images over to it from the other device. Also, the WireGuard and the Pi-hole, so that there's a new backup of them. And then there was some other 3D printing, but yeah, I'm going to save that for next time too. And sorry I talked so bloody long. It's just been a really long time. All right. Majid, over to you.
Okay. So it made me realize as well actually how long it had been since we've done Wanderings, because when I looked back, yeah, you're right, it's been 6 weeks, which is quite a bit. And so stuff which I had already thought about and forgotten about actually had come around. I suppose the first thing to mention is that it's bloody cold at the minute. It's snowing and it's in the 20s Fahrenheit, and I don't like the cold. I'm in the wrong country for that. Work has been relatively quiet actually. And I did work some of the festive period. I worked Christmas Day, for example. It was quite quiet actually. New Year's wasn't too bad either, so it was okay. I did an episode of Distro Hoppers Digest for December with Dale, in which I reviewed Ghost BSD and he reviewed Ultramarine. My basic thing, if the TLDR of the Ghost BSD review was, it's fine if you like your computer to look like it's 2007. And any other benefits that it has went completely over my head. That might be a me problem, but yeah, that's what I thought. Now Jim had some stuff to say. Go on, Jim.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I know this is a long show, so I'll be brief. I saw you. I watched, listened to Distro Hoppers Digest. I heard your comments, and your main complaint was number one, something about the screen resolution not working right on your laptop. That does happen on Linux and on FreeBSD. You probably could have used xrandr to fix it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's your experience is valid. It does happen sometimes. But the rest of your complaint about what you just said about it looking like Linux 5 years ago, I think a lot of your beef is actually with Mate, the desktop environment.
Actually, I think you might be right there, because I've got another related thing in my wanderings about that. However, I did try Gershwin as well. And again, it looked fine if you like Mac OS 9. Yeah.
Just FYI, the community supports XFCE.
Okay.
As their sort of like official, third option. And then I could tell you from my experience on a desktop where my screen resolution was fine, you can install really any other desktop environment through the software center. And I installed Cinnamon, and to my shock, it worked perfectly. It was trivial to install it.
Okay.
So
I didn't have a great experience with the software station. I had real difficulty getting any things installed. But I said that this could all be a me problem rather than a problem.
Wow.
I'm completely willing to take that. But yeah, okay, fair enough. All opinions are available, as they say. The next review is going to be, I've decided anyway, it's going to be Ubuntu Budgie. Now Dale talked a lot on there about, he reviewed Ultramarine. So Ultramarine is this kind of Fedora based distro, which is kind of, if you think of the way the relationship Mint has with Ubuntu, it's kind of like that. It's Ultramarine Fedora. It got all the codecs, got the third party repositories all kind of set up so that it should be a more plug and play experience. And I made the usual mistake of deciding to put that onto the podcasting box. Actually, it's been working fine, and it's been very performant and all that. What I realized though after a while was that actually what I was enjoying was KDE. And because I'd been using Cinnamon on this box for a couple of years now, because I'd been on Mint. I'd kind of forgotten how nice KDE can be, especially things like KRunner and stuff like that. It does have one very strange bug, which I don't know if it's a setting thing or what, but so if I use any of the services for sharing files over the network, whether that might be local send, KDE Connect, Packet, which is kind of Android Quick Share, nothing seems to work. And I don't know why. I first thought it was my phone that was the problem. But then I checked, and I can do stuff between my phone and my laptop with using local send or Packet or whatever, and similarly with on my tablet as well. So it's something to do with the machine. I don't. It just keeps saying error. It doesn't tell me any more why. It finds the other stuff, but it can never send it. So I don't know what that is. I've updated everything. I wondered whether it might be a file thing, but I haven't set up any specific settings on that regard. So if anybody has any ideas, I'll be grateful to know. As I said, now I've kind of realized it's KDE that I'm enjoying rather than the base underneath, and so I might find myself going to Kubuntu, which I've used before. But I used that before I was on Mint Cinnamon last time. I really wish Mint did a KDE spin. I mean, I know they've done it in the past. I know there's ones like Ferrin, which are kind of like that, but not really. It'd be quite cool, actually, I think. Although you could argue that Cinnamon does a lot of the stuff that KDE does. It was funny, though, because I did... not funny, but one of the things... Because I said I thought it might have been my phone that was the issue. And one of the kind of guides that AI told me, because obviously you should always follow what AI... just clear your cache and clear your Google Play Services cache, which I did, and then realized that I then got logged out of every Google account that was on there. And that took a bit of a while to set that back up again. I had to try and remember some passwords, which I'd completely forgotten, because it'd been that long since I'd actually had to put a password in, because I used things like Bitwarden and stuff like that. Okay, onto my server. So I had a rare win with my server, in that I talked about this on Linux OTC a couple of weeks ago. Something was taking up a lot of space on the SSD. I still haven't found, by the way, Bill, I still haven't figured out what it is yet. But something was taking up about over 100 gig. I wondered whether it was metadata. I wondered whether it was maybe I'd got some download paths wrong when I was using image, for example. Anywho, I then thought I'll put a bigger SSD in, and I managed to get one for about 40 quid for a half terabyte. And initially I was going to do a full-on nuke and pave, and then I thought, I've just finally got these Docker containers working, the jellyfins, bookshelves and whatever. Why don't I try cloning? And so I used Clonezilla, and it worked. As I said, it worked absolutely brilliantly. I've talked about it more on OTC, but it worked really well, to the extent that I was a bit surprised, and I started wondering, too good to be true? Was I started pinching myself? But it worked really well. Now, it did occur to me afterwards, I wonder if you could do that with, say, laptops as well, where you don't necessarily take hard drives out, but you're just connecting up two machines. If anybody knows if you can do something like that, that would be interesting. Because, it would make setting up a new machine quick.
The
much
drive
quicker.
has to be unmounted.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
so it's...
All right. Well, then maybe not then.
Well, I mean, all you would have to do
all
is
you gotta-
boot from a live USB or something, and then you could clone the drive that's in the hard drive.
It's easier than that. All you got to do is take the hard drive out of the one machine and put it into the other machine.
Yeah, the problem with laptops is a lot of them have got soldered on SSDs and shit, haven't they?
Yeah.
That's
Some of
the
them,
problem. That's the issue. Yeah, you're right. You can just take one hard drive.
That works almost too good sometimes, because I had a situation where when I've got those two Chewy laptops, I just wanted them to be absolute mirror images of each other, and I wasn't thinking that means if I just run Clonezilla and clone the drive onto the other drive, which is what I did with, I actually took them out and did it with these USB things I got. Now they both got the same host name, And hooking those up to the network at the same time is an interesting thing when you've got two machines that are pretending to be the exact same machine. So, yeah.
Okay.
One thing to consider.
Part of the reason I was thinking about that was my son, the middle one. He wants a new laptop. So at the moment, he's got a Lenovo ThinkPad T470, which I bought him years ago. No, not years ago, maybe about 18 months ago. Which, to be honest, I think is fine. I even
That's
managed
a solid machine.
Yeah, 16 gig of RAM, 256 gig of storage. Why is it slow? Because it's running Windows. That's why it's slow and a bit annoying. So I said to him, well, why don't you try Linux? And he's kind of like, not so sure, not so sure. I said, you know what? I've got my distro hopping laptop, right? Which I was using for reviews. Why don't you just play around with that and see what you think? Now, at the time, I just put Ubuntu Budgie on there to start doing the review for that. And he didn't like Ubuntu Budgie at all. He said it was slow, it was buggy, he couldn't get things to work, whatever. So I just thought, well, maybe it's just maybe I need to have a much even lighter distro on there. So that's why I put on the Mate version of Mint, which I haven't touched in about 10 years. I haven't tried it out. It really is a bit behind. I mean, I know everything's in the eye of the beholder, and I know that, traditional is good and all that sort of stuff, but it did look a bit ropey, I must say. And it was also buggy as well, and little things, fractional scaling, for example. So either I had really tiny text or I had really massive text. I had nothing in between. There was no kind of gesture support on the touchpad, things like that. And so in the end, I ended up just putting Linux Mint Cinnamon onto it, which he really likes. But with one big caveat. You can't get Bluetooth working. And I know that Linux and Bluetooth is always an issue, and it always has been an issue. But it might actually be a deal breaker for him, because he was saying, well, if I can't, attach my different headphones and stuff like that, then I'm not going to. So, and
Okay.
go ahead.
It's usually the hardware, the support for the hardware is what I have found, because I've always, talked about how terrible Bluetooth is on Linux. It's the support for the hardware, and that's usually a pretty easy fix if you're willing to take the laptop apart and find a Wi-Fi Bluetooth card, an AE slot card to replace in there that is well supported with Linux, and that's just a matter of research.
Okay, so that's something I'll look into. I mean, I did kind of mention to him that this laptop does have a 3.5mm headphone jack. You could just plug in some wired ones, but these kids nowadays, it's such a Neanderthal thing to do, isn't it?
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, I know. So that was that was to do with the laptop. I've got a new phone, as I kind of got a OnePlus 15. I like the foldable that I had before this, which was an 3, but the software was a bit annoying, and I don't mean annoying in the sense of that it looked like iOS or anything like that. It's just that it was a bit janky, basically, and there was little things that would stop working, copy paste would stop working, things like that. And I was getting a good deal basically for it, and I was getting a good deal on the OnePlus 15, and so I got a phone which is normally about 1,000 for about 750, which I thought was a good deal. Saved 250 quid, and that too on interest free as well.
Right.
Yeah. So now, interestingly, as I'd kind of talked about last time as well on my Wandering 6 weeks ago, I've been going hard again, different types of earbuds, checking out Earfun, checking out Soundcore, Cambridge, Melomania, stuff like that. And I actually settled on some OnePlus Buds 4. And so now I've realized that by accident I've ended up in an OnePlus ecosystem, because I have OnePlus phone, I have OnePlus earbuds, which are really good, by the way. And I've got a OnePlus watch, which I've had for a couple of years. So yeah, I mean their ecosystem. I don't. It hasn't made a huge amount. To be fair, I don't think there is. Android has always been generally very good interoperable between the different brands. So it doesn't make a huge difference. I think whether you've got everything Samsung or everything OnePlus or everything Pixel, in the same way that Apple's devices are so reliant on each other. But yeah, the most important thing about earbuds is whether you can adjust the EQ. I've learned if you can adjust the EQ, you can make anything sound good. If you can't adjust the EQ, then you're kind of stuck. That's what I found. And now I don't know if that's what other people have found when using different headphones and earbuds, but having gotten through, I think, 6 separate sets of them over the last 6 weeks, that's what I found out. Thank God for Black Friday returns, eh? Returned all the other ones that I didn't like. Television has been a bit weird for me. I've started quite a lot of things, but I've difficulty kind of maintaining interest for them. And I don't know if that's a reflection of what I'm watching or a reflection of me. I don't know. For example, I just can't be bothered with The Witcher. I got like about halfway through the first episode and I was just like, I can't be bothered with this. You've destroyed it. I'm not happy. I did get through The Beast in Me on Netflix, which is the Claire Danes, Matthew Rhys one. That was good. There's one on Prime called Assassin, which was good. It was kind of the kind of thing you watched with the wife, kind of throwaway popcorny type of stuff. That was quite good. The second season of The Night Manager has come out, so on BBC iPlayer, and I think it'll be on Netflix as well, or side of the pond. It's really good, worth watching. Tom Hiddleston, Hugh Laurie, really good. I started Alien Earth, and then as I started watching it, I realized that it had been so bloody long since I have seen any of the Alien films that actually it might be worth just revisiting them. And so my plan is to start because they're all available on. Start watching all the Alien films in chronological order now. I'm still going to watch Alien Earth. I quite like it actually, but it just made me realize it's been a long time since I've seen.
I think
any of those.
if you just watch the first movie, that'd be enough for Alien Earth because it harkens to that very first movie with the.
You can stretch it to the second movie, but anything beyond that is just a waste of your time.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean for the sake of like some context, the first movie kind of fills in the blanks, I think.
Okay.
Plus, I mean that was just a fantastic movie. Ridley Scott. I mean, come on.
I mean, as I said, it's been such a long time. I was thinking about it. I think the last time I saw it was in the 90s, mid 90s.
It's the one that was actually terrifying to watch it, and it's coming and it gets you every time. And here this thing came out 78 or 79?
79.
I mean, yeah.
It's older than me and Joe.
That was back when we couldn't lean on the computer effects and that so much. We actually had to make a good movie, So yeah. Because if you Alien Earth, the computers that are in the set and the way the ships are laid out and everything is reminiscent to that first movie and only that first movie. Mm-hmm. All of the others have kind of deviated somewhat from that whole thing. So there's my take.
The rails?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm eagerly awaiting the new Megadeth album because I've heard a couple of the songs that have come off it, and it's going to be released. It's going to be Dave Mustaine's basically going to retire. He said this is the last album. He's going to do a version of Ride the Lightning, which will be interesting. And I'm just putting as one last thing. There is a book called 168 Songs About Hatred and Failure, and it is a history of my favorite band of all time, which is the Manic Street Preachers. I've got t-shirts on, which is a Welsh band. Started off in the early 90s, still going till now, and it just takes 168 songs from their 15 album back catalogue now, and talks about each one of them. And each chapter is just one song. It's just maybe a page or two, but it's just fascinating stuff. Really, do you know what I mean? What was the inspiration for this song? What did the producer say? And they work with some of the big guys. They work with like Steve Albini and stuff like that. It's been a while since I've got a book that I just keep reading and I can't stop reading. I just want to keep going on to say, okay, well, what did they say about the next one? And it also helps that since I've been doing all this farting around with earbuds, I mean, I've got some good quality earbuds their back catalog with as well. So if you are a fan of that kind of music, kind of punk, post-punk, I think you'd probably call it, check it out. Anyway, that's me. Jim, over to you.
Okay, that was interesting, Majid. Yes, I'm going to break mine down into 3 sections. All right, first, I went on a journey down with optical character recognition. So, as a preamble, I will go through this very quickly. First, there's a problem, right? We all are aware of it. The content online, it's ephemeral. It's not forever. We've learned this now that the internet has been around for 25 or 30 or so years. There are entire websites that used to exist that no longer exist, forums, subreddits, social media platforms. And not only the whole platform can disappear, but the individual posts, the individual pieces of content can disappear. Tweets, replies, all that kind of stuff. So knowing that is an issue. As a solution, what I have done, at least in some instances, are to make local copies in real time of individual posts via screen caps right on my phone. So, the method I use is, just do it on the phone, knowing that at any given moment, if there's a post, something that for whatever reason, whether it's your hobby or some niche interest you have, it may not be there tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. So what I have done as a result is I've made a project for myself, knowing that I had some 2,800 screen caps that I collected over the last 7 years, that are largely text, but not completely, but they're largely text. I wanted to figure out if I could find a way to make use of those and turn those from dead data into live data. And what I mean by that is be able to search within them, not just on the name of the file, individual files, but the actual text inside there. So to do that, I had to use OCR. I learned that the widely recommended application, a command line application, is called Tesseract. It's called Tesseract -OCR. I elected to install it on Linux Mint from a PPA. As I've explained many times before, I like to use PPAs. You can often get the very latest versions of the programs, and with a program like this, you definitely want the latest version because these things, they get better over time.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Sure.
If I'm correct, Alan Pope makes Tesseract. I'm pretty sure it's his project.
It's been around a long time, like 30 years. Has he been around doing it?
Well, I know that he was
a contributor to it.
Yeah, because I'm sure it came up in when we had him on something. I'm sure it came up whether it was on here or on OTC. I can't remember, or Roundtable. But he mentioned something about that. So just a comment. That's all.
That's interesting. Yeah, the program has been around since the 80s. It's one of those programs like FFmpeg that you could either use directly in the command line, or it also effectively is the back end for many other free and open source programs and even commercial, closed source paid programs. Tesseract is what is really driving many different OCR applications. So anyway, knowing that, I downloaded it, I installed it from the PPA because I wanted the latest version, and then of course I had to test it and make sure it worked. And the man page is long and complicated, but you guys are aware, if you want to figure out how to use a program, you could usually Google, like, how do I use, this such and such a program? And you'll usually find examples of people online using it. And that's what I did to make it easy for myself, because I wasn't going to spend, dozens of hours mastering the program. I just wanted to get this one project done. And luckily, I was able to do that. I figured out, and in the show notes, I included the command that I used to basically convert an individual PNG file to a PDF file. Simple command. It worked like a charm. And the PDF was identical to the PNG. Like, if you put them side by side, they look just alike. It's an image, but to my amazement, the text within that PDF is perfectly searchable. You hit Control F, you can search within the individual image. Now, of course, that wasn't the end goal. That's just step one to the end goal. What I really wanted to do was convert all 2,800 of these screen caps, make them PDFs that are, OCR text inside of them, and then use an application that would search within the whole group of them, right? So the next step was I had to figure out how to convert the whole batch, right? So again, I went to the search engine and figured out, found someone else that had done something similar, and I just had to convert the command that they use. It was a very, very specific command. I ran it in the command line, and to my amazement, the very first time I use it, it took a little while. It took like an hour, 90 minutes or something, but eventually it converted all 2,800 of my PNG files to PDF files, all of them perfectly searchable. Amazing. And they look, like I said, you put them side by side, they look just like the PNG files that they used to be. So now, okay, that led me to the next step. How come when you have images, you can search through them like quickly? You open any image editing program or image viewing program, you could like hit the page down or the right arrow key and blaze through them, right? Because usually images come in collections, but with PDFs, they don't. Usually people look at one PDF or maybe two PDFs at a time, especially if they're multiple pages. But in this case, all these PDFs, which are really just images with OCR text on them, they are, there's just a whole bunch of them, and I want to be able to look at them quickly. I don't want to have to open up each one at a time. I want to be able to go bing, 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 and blaze through them, just like I would if they were PNGs or JPEGs. So again, that set me down a rabbit hole of figuring out, is there an application I could use on my laptop if I want to blaze through this collection of PDFs, at like one at a time, within a split second, a piece. So sure enough, I found a program called MUPDF on the command line, and I found a command that is able to go to a directory and use them. However, it wasn't in order, right? It was just for whatever reason it would. When I went to go search to step through them one to the next, it wasn't in the right order. So I didn't like that. So then I found a program on the Mint Software Center called Impressive. That's the name of the program. It is a command line app. And again, I had to go use a search engine and figure out how to use this program, without spending hours and hours mastering and reading the whole man page beginning to end. And sure enough, I did. And again, I included it on the show notes, so if someone else wants to do the same thing. Very simple, just a few characters. You can simply browse to the directory in the command line, use this Impressive command line app, and it would step through every single PDF from one to the next. Bing, 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 bing. So now I have an application that will let me look through them just like I'm looking through a collection of images. However, the next step after that I wanted to do, as I said, is figure out how to be able to search these documents. So now I've got them all converted. I've got a big directory full of 2,800 screen caps. The names have dates on them, so I know that they're in order, like chronologically, but I want to search within the document. So if I think to myself, one of those posts had something about Chicago, how do I find that, right? So now you need a program that allows you to search within the PDFs, not just the file names. So off the top of my head, I figured out grep. Some old school people might recommend a command line program like grep. That doesn't work within PDFs specifically. It'll work on other type of files. So I started downloading different programs to try. I installed SearchMonkey. I believe that was on the Software Center. But for whatever reason, 2,800 PDFs was too much for it to handle, and it crashed. Then I installed something called Recoll, Recoll. I thought it was overcomplicated, and I didn't like it. So then I installed DocFetcher. That was a binary I downloaded from their website. It wasn't in the package manager. I dumped it in my /op folder, and that program worked well. So now I've got a program on my laptop. Go to DocFetcher. It will search inside of all those PDFs. So if I want to search for any keyword off the top of my head, it will find them very easily. So I thought it was amazing. I also installed a command line program called PDF grep, and that works very nicely. If you're a terminal, command line focused person, and you prefer to use the command line for this, you can use PDF grep. And again, in the show notes, I put the exact text that I use for that command to work, and it will search inside your PDF files for any keyword. So I was very happy. The project worked, and then I said, well, you know what? Okay, that's great on my laptop. Mission accomplished. But what about on my phone, on my Android phone? Could I enable the same thing to happen? Because I might like to breeze through these or search them on my phone. So the first thing I did, I realized MUPDF does not work. I tried in Termux, the Linux environment on Android, simply wouldn't work. So I ended up, if I want to browse them, I can't find a program that will allow me to browse through my PDFs on my phone. But if I want to search through them on my phone, I did find an application that works. In the Google Play Store, there's a program called DocSearch Plus. Again, I listed in the show notes. This program will search within PDFs or any kind of text files. So if you have a directory with hundreds or thousands of text files, DocSearch will work. Now, it does limit you. It will show you all the results, but it will only show you previews for the first 5. However, you can double click on all the other results, and it will bring it up. So it's a paid program, but if you don't want to pay, you can still use it. You just won't get all the previews. I tried to also use a program called PDF grep and Termux, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get that to work either. So basically, mission accomplished. I now have all my screen caps with content that no longer exists, by the way. All the 7 years I spent making all these screen caps, the forum that used to contain them, it's gone. So that data is gone off the internet. There's no way to get it back, but I had the foresight. I saved them over time, one at a time, along the last 7 years. I've got a directory full of them on my laptop. It's on my phone. I now have 2 different programs that can instantly search through them on a keyword, and I can find out any of those post simply by using a keyword. So mission accomplished. OCR is great. If you're going to get into it, you can read through my notes, follow along. I would recommend Tesseract to anyone. All right, so if there are no questions from that kind of technical explanation,
I did look
I
up.
will move on.
I looked up the contributors for Tesseract, and it looks like if you go to the GitHub page, and it's too bad Majid ain't here. The history of it, Tesseract was originally developed at Hewlett-Packard Laboratories, Bristol, UK, and at Hewlett-Packard Company, Greeley, Colorado, USA between 1985 and 1994. So you were right with the timeline, with some more changes made in 1996 to port to Windows, and some C++izing in 1998. In 2005, Tesseract was open sourced by HP from 2006 until 2017. It was developed by Google. Major version 5 is the current stable version, and starting with release 5.0 on November 30th, 2021, newer minor versions and bug fix versions are available from GitHub. Now, there's about 191 contributors listed on GitHub, and I don't see Popey on here, but I might have just overlooked it. So just a little fact checking there before we get called on it.
Okay. You're being very careful about your fact checking.
You know, you burn me once, burn me twice, burn me 9 times. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I gotcha. So, yeah, in summary, I know I just blazed through a lot of information. If you're interested in OCR, check the show notes and you'll see how I did things and why I did them in that brief overview I just gave. I even included the commands, and they worked for me. So, and this all stems, like I said in my preamble, understand their content is ephemeral. If there's something that you want to reference, it may not be there tomorrow or 5 years from now. So at least, if you do save it somehow, you can actually turn it into live data, make it searchable using these tools. Well, that was the lesson in the project that I went down. It took me about 10 days to do all this little at a time and all the Googling and figuring it out. And, so it's all there if you want to, review it or hit me up if you want to ask me any questions about it. Okay. Other than that, other smaller projects that I got involved in. First of all, I don't know if I'm the only person that does this, but I use /opt to put all my stuff that is not from a package manager. That's where I dump everything. I don't know if you guys do the same or if you put it within your home folder. I hate putting anything in the home folder, but /opt for me is the place to put anything that's like a binary download, not from your package manager, but just something that you download, like a known trusted program, obviously, maybe a Java type program. It's also the place where I would put any Windows software, like Windows XE, EXEs, and all the associated files that you're going to try to run through Wine. And also /opt is also the place where I will put any app images that I'm using. I'll put them there. So that's sort of it's an old school place to put software that does not come from your package manager, and I use it for all those reasons. Maybe I'm the only one here, but that's what I do.
I have been known to put if I use a Snap-based distro, or if I have to, I usually go to Mozilla to get the binary of Firefox, and I'll put it in opt. I haven't used it as a rule for other things that I download that are like either portable or installed from source or whatever. Sometimes things install there automatically from source if you're Cowboy compiling something. But I have been known, I don't have anything in the home directory right now, but I have been known to put if something runs from a binary like a app image or something like that, I'll put it in a subdirectory of .local in the home directory. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's all the same thing. You don't have to worry so much about permissions when it comes to dealing and executing things so much. But yeah, I have been known to put Firefox in /opt. That's what it's supposed to be for. So yeah, fair enough.
Okay. I'm also gonna recommend when you install a program from a binary, like that, if you want to grab the icon, to integrate it manually into your menu, if that's important to you, there's a website called Fave Icon Downloader, and I put a link to it in the show notes. And, if you want to grab like the official, icon, the same one that appears at the top of your browser tab, and use it on your menu, it's a great little easy way to do that.
Now,
So,
see, that's
a
cool
tool.
because I've always been the guy. I have to have it in my menu, so I'll go to the
Yes.
internet and I'll like save an image from their website or whatever, because I cannot stand not having everything ordered the way
Yep.
it's supposed to be, and then I'll go to the menu editor or something like that, and then I'll set up wherever the desktop entry gets stored, and so that's a cool tool.
All right, cool. So next, I don't know if you guys track all the TV, movies, or books that you read on any kind of program, but the ones I use, I keep them up to date. I've got them completely up to date with everything I've watched in the last few years. There's a lot of different ways and apps to do this, right? But I use TV Time on my Android phone. It tracks all the TV series I watch. It even has international series like, Dragon's Den UK and things like that I, are not shown in the US. And it's pretty up to date. And there is a website app. It looks very much like they just adapted the Android version, to use it on the web, and it syncs. So they also allow you to use movies there, but I only use it for TV shows, and it's pretty satisfying. I know when I finish an episode, pick up my phone, and my thumb hits the button that tells me I'm all caught up. So in contrast, when I track movies, I prefer to use a different app. I use Letterboxd. It's spelled like the word letterboxed, but without the E as the penultimate letter. I like the options they have for sorting the movies between, latest added or earliest released, and you could sort them a lot of different ways. The website is really nice. It has an easy keyboard entry if you're adding stuff. There is an Android app, but the Android app has some annoying ads, but I'm going to give you another tip to defeat them. I'll also mention that I do track all the books I read on an app called Goodreads. I believe it's owned by Amazon.
It's a website, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a
been around for a
website.
while.
Yeah. And an app too. You can do it on, again, according to your preference, on the website with your Amazon account, or you can do it on your phone. There's an app. So I found an app on F-Droid called Adaway, and I was a bit skeptical about it, but we all have maybe at least one or more programs on our Android phones that have some annoying ads that creep in. Well, if you install Adaway, you got two from F-Droid, meaning it's free and open source. You've got two possibilities. One, if your Android phone is rooted, you could use one version of Adaway. But even if your phone is not rooted, like mine, you can install Adaway, and that effectively puts a VPN on your phone, which you can, turn on and off at will. And that VPN has a very thorough list of all the different ad, companies that inject ads into your different apps, if you use any. And I tried it out because I was annoyed by the ads on the version of Letterboxd, the movie tracking program. And sure enough, it stripped them right out. There's still a little gap where the ad used to be, but that annoying like live ad that has motion and stuff that is completely distracting when you're using the ad is gone. So if you guys have maybe one or two or games or other type of utilities or programs on your Android phone, might want to give ad away a try. It's really easy to turn on and off the protection. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, next I'm going to talk about another Android program I installed, also from F-Droid. We are all aware of VLC. We probably all use it on our laptops or desktops. There's also a great version for Android, but there's one thing that VLC lacks on their Android version, in my opinion. If you have like Samba shares, let's say you got collections of videos, and you can browse to them on your Android phone and watch them. It works fine. It works great. But the only little hitch is, for some reason, that you don't get good thumbnails. It looks like there's supposed to be thumbnails on your videos that you're browsing through on your Samba shares, but they're not there. They don't actually show up, at least not reliably. In my experience, and I read other people complaining about this, the thumbnails just don't show up. It's annoying.
I think it's because it doesn't index the file. The operating system is not indexing it. So, yeah.
Yep. I think you're right, because when I installed Nova Video Player, which is free and open source on F-Droid, it's an alternative program for playing either local files on your Android phone or tablet, or even on your Android-based TV device. You can index the directories on your Samba shares. And once you do that and you start browsing to them in Nova, just like you would in VLC, the thumbnails show up. So Nova can do it, but VLC doesn't. Once in a while you get one that gets stuck and it doesn't show up unless you kind of refresh it or whatever. But unlike, VLC, where like 2% of them show up and 90%, 98% do not, on Nova, 98% of them show up. And I got directories that have hundreds and hundreds of videos. So it's definitely a interesting option if you want to try it and to watch videos either locally on your phone or over your network. I would recommend you check out Nova, because I'm pretty satisfied being able to see the overwhelming, almost 100% majority of the thumbnails for the first time, which, our beloved VLC still drops the ball in this day and age. Okay, Bill, I don't know if you've experienced this like me, but just recently on my Fire TV 4K Max device, I had a couple of programs just magically uninstall themselves. I don't know why. My Surfshark VPN uninstalled itself, and I have this setting turned off where it says offload infrequently used programs. I definitely have that off, but I had to reinstall my Surfshark VPN app twice on my Fire TV device. I don't know why. I thought maybe I was running out of space, but I had nearly a gig of space, so it shouldn't have like forcibly offloaded it for me. And surprisingly, even Amazon's own Silk browser uninstalled itself. I was like, what the hell? Of all the programs, even that one? You can't uninstall that voluntarily if you want.
I think I have, actually, and I just kind of, because it was an app that I hadn't used in so long, and I wasn't exactly sure. I always second guess myself. I always think when something goes wrong, it must be something I did wrong, and so I just kind of put it up to the idea that maybe I either didn't install it or had never installed it, or maybe I uninstalled it for some reason and forgot to reinstall it. But I've had that happen with Hulu and a couple of the more esoteric streaming apps on the Fire TV in our bedroom. So, yeah, I don't know about these things.
Yeah, check the setting that says, offload infrequently used apps. But in spite of having that unchecked, it still happened to me. I had to put my bookmarks back on. There weren't that many, but anyway, just a small annoyance. I'm generally very happy with my Fire TV devices, but I thought that was weird that happened. All right, I'll move on to something else. This is a general rant. Because of the popularity of AI and the fact that it's everywhere, the only thing worse than the annoyance of AI being injected into everything, in my opinion, is the fact that numbskulls online are accusing things of being AI when they are not actually AI. I mean, you could see somebody post something and people are like, "Oh, that's AI." Like, what do you mean? How do you know? I mean, I know some people were saying the long M dashes were a sign that it was written by AI rather than a person, because most people, at least in North America, don't use those. But I think people are just quick to call it out because they want to feel like, hey, yeah, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes. I see through it. That's AI. You're not fooling me. But 9 times out of 10, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just guessing.
I hear you. I think there's a lot of exhaustion out there of it.
Yeah.
I really do, and I wonder if that a lot of that's causing it. So when you see something that looks really well done, you think, I don't know, man, that might be AI. And I've gotten to the point where because my NVIDIA Shield upstairs on the upstairs TV, if you're not watching anything, it uses it's got Chromecast built into it, and so it uses the Chromecast wallpaper thing as the screensaver. And it's a lot of really beautiful photos, but a lot of them, the coloring does not seem realistic to me, and so I'm always thinking, yeah, that's got to be AI. I don't always vocalize it because everybody does get sick of hearing it, but it's kind of hard to not think that nowadays because we're just so inundated with so much AI generated crap that Yeah, I know what you mean, though.
Yeah. I even saw on Reddit, like a pretty girl posted herself a picture in a bikini, and someone like, "Oh, that's AI." So for research purposes purely, I looked at the rest of her posts, and there were dozens and dozens of posts in different outfits in different places. It was clearly a real person, with real pictures. This idiot was just calling it AI for some reason. I mean, I know that those programs have gotten better.
To be real.
Maybe the idiot was AI.
Yeah. So
maybe
you have to be skeptical, AI. but not that skeptical. Okay. All right. All right. So for over Christmas, I visited my dad, and he has 2 laptops already that are running Linux Mint. After I put them on there, and I talked about this before, but there was my mom's old desktop. And that was running Windows 7. It was a Dell Inspiron with a Pentium chip from 2014. And he said, well, it's slow as hell. You might as well put Linux there, too. So my octogenarian father now has as many Linux computers as I do. That's 3. So add another one to the stats for Team Linux. I recommended him a printer. I think I've mentioned it here before, but if you need a black and white printer for Linux, I recommend the Brother. I put the model number in the show notes. He's using it a lot because he's administering my uncle's estate right now, and he's printing more stuff than he ever had to print in a long time. And this Brother printer that I recommended, it is excellent.
Is it laser?
There's no drivers. It instantly prints everything from every one of my Linux computers and my Android phone and my Ghost BSD computer. All recognize this printer on my network instantaneously. No drivers, no USB cable,
That's the way
nothing.
Should be. It really
should. It just
Is it
works.
a laser, though? Since it's black and white,
it's a black and white laser printer. I got it for the cheap price of like $89. It's a little more now on Amazon. But I mean, it props to the team behind who figured out how to do all this and get this working.
think it's one
it
guy.
is way better than Windows.
I think it's one guy over at Ubuntu, over at Canonical, that's doing all that
Yeah.
printer work, putting that in the kernel. Or if it's more than one person, it's not many more. And you're right. I think
He's a hero.
Brother is the brand to go with Linux, though, from what I've heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, good choice.
All right. So also while I was there, we got involved in another project with my dad. I use a program called NotesNook from My Notes. There's many different notes programs, right? But he was still using Color Note. It was a very popular program on Android. I used to use it myself. There used to be a Windows version, emphasis on used to be. So I explained, and he uses the notes. He has over 100 notes, all kinds of stuff from, that his personal stuff, hobby stuff, whatever. So, and important stuff too. So I explained to him that, hey, with Color Note, you're just trapped on your phone, right? You've got your notes on your phone and there's no way to get there's no other way to access them. Unlike there used to be where you could, have a version of Color Notes on Windows. And he's not on Windows anymore anyway. So I explained to him that you could maybe use the program that I use, NotesNook. Now, NotesNook it's open source, but it's a paid program. But if you want to self-host it, you can get all the premium features for free. I'm just using the free account, but that would give him the ability to create, and access his notes on his laptop because he likes using his laptop. Now that his laptop is actually usable, he likes doing stuff on his laptop. So basically, I wanted to help him get his notes from being trapped solely on his phone on Color Note and get them on another program. So in order to do that, first we tried to just take a note and, click send on his phone and send it directly to NotesNook, Android version. And it worked, but it only did it as plain text. Now, unlike myself, many of his notes are checklists. They're not simply text notes. So that was a problem. However, while I was there for a few days, I managed to figure it out. There is a neat program called Jimmy Note Converter. It will convert your notes from many different note applications into Markdown, which is quite, widely used. And I was skeptical. Is this actually going to work to export all his 141 notes, as many of them being checklists? And sure enough, it worked. I was able to, it's just a small binary program, by the way. You just download it and run it. And it converted all his notes into Markdown. And then I was able to, go on to the NotesNook version, Linux version on his laptop and import all of them at once. Didn't have to do them one at a time. And it magically converted all his notes from Markdown correctly as checklists on NotesNook. So now, and the great thing about the NotesNook, whether you're using the free or the paid version or the self-hosting version, the sync is very accurate. You could literally type something on your phone and it will reflect on your laptop or vice versa within a couple of seconds, in my experience. So I thought this app, Jimmy Note Converter, is great. If you're the kind of person that likes to, note hop, you want to try all the different, note-taking apps, of which there are dozens and dozens, this is a great way to do it, to make sure that everything is converted properly. Okay. If there's no questions there, I will now blaze through the media that I enjoyed in the last 6 weeks. Number one, I read a book called Killers of the Flower Moon, the nonfiction New York Times bestseller from 2017. Many people know it because Martin Scorsese made a movie about it more recently. I haven't seen the movie.
Oh
but
yeah,
book,
I've seen the adverts for the movie. I remember he made it. Was it something to do with Native Americans? Or am I?
Native Americans being systematically murdered in the 1920s in Oklahoma for their mineral rights. Yeah. It's it's a real page turner. I probably never would have read the book excuse me if I hadn't been aware of the movie coming out, but the book was fascinating. I mean, what a
Venezuela? Oh wait, no, I heard you wrong. I'm sorry. I thought you said Venezuela, but then you said no.
no, Oklahoma.
yeah, my bad.
Nobody said Venezuela, I don't think. Yeah, it's a fascinating story. Eventually, I will see too, but the book itself was great. If you like nonfiction, all right. Next, I read Last Rites, the Ozzy Osbourne, his posthumous second memoir that came out not long ago, and it was very interesting. A lot of it was about his last few years of his life, all the trouble he had since his accident and his recovery, and this canceled final tour, and then the leading up to the last tour, last event shortly before his death, and it went back into also some of the other key moments of his life. Looking back on it, So if you're an Ozzy fan, if you're a heavy metal fan, I highly recommend Last Rites. I also saw Ballerina, from the John Wick universe. Ana de Armas is not just beautiful, but she was great as a female assassin. I thought it was perhaps the second or third best movie, after the first and perhaps maybe the first John Wick sequel. It was definitely better, in my opinion, more entertaining than the third or the fourth one. And there's a grenade fight in there that is, novel. There's a flamethrower versus flamethrower fight that is pretty unique. And I also, since I watched it on disc from the library, the deleted and extended fight scenes were a very nice bonus. So if you like the John Wick movies and you like mindless violence, the choreography of the so-called gun fu was unbelievable. If you like horror movies, I recommend Bring Her Back. It's an Australian horror movie from last year that it's about a woman who is trying to resurrect her dead daughter in the body of a young woman in her charge. Okay, the Family Guy holiday special, officially named Disney's, Hulu's, Family Guy's, Hallmark Channel's, Lifetime's familiar holiday movie. I thought it was funny, so they did that as a Christmas special. There's also a Halloween special from a couple months ago. So only 2 episodes of Family Guy this year, but the new kicks off on Fox on broadcast television February 19th. If you're an old school Family Guy fan, you haven't watched in a while, I think the 2 holiday specials on Hulu or Disney are worth watching. I also am going to recommend one of my favorite shows on broadcast TV. It's only on like once in a while. It's been on for years, but it kind of comes and goes almost randomly. It's called What Would You Do, hosted by John Quinones, the American journalist. I don't know if you guys have seen this show before. They purposely set up awkward situations in public places like a diner or a bar where people somehow get into an argument, or one person's insulting the other or belittling them or being racist or bigoted or homophobic. And they try to see, they have actors playing those roles. They try to see if the bystanders, the other, diners or people will interact or step in to try to, help the person being victimized. It's cringeworthy television. I mean, but it is so great to see these scenarios that they set up and, how people will or will not get involved.
Some of the scenarios are dangerous too. I saw one where a truck driver picked up a 14-year-old girl and they were in the restaurant talking, and of course they were being loud enough to where the bystanders around could hear. And they were talking about she didn't know.
There's some places you just don't play that game. You'll get a bat.
Yeah. They have security there.
I'm like, man, that's a little bit sketchy, dude. You're gonna get somebody shot or something. You're gonna work your way into a corner you might not be able to get out of by yourself. So yeah, that's one of them shows.
You have all the security there you want to. After your head gets bounced off the cement, it ain't gonna matter.
So yeah, I think it's endlessly entertaining. The Christmas special was on Hulu, or the holiday special was on Hulu. And if you're curious to go back, there's dozens and dozens of
Holiday
segments on their
special.
YouTube.
To Catch a Predator holiday special.
Yeah, that's not on the list here, but Chris Hansen from To Catch a Predator does a show called Takedown, and if you go to the True Blue, TRUBLUE, he is effectively doing a modern day To Catch a Predator in conjunction with police and sheriff's departments, and it is astounding. You get the impression, right, that if they set up these scenarios where decoys pretend to be underage 14, 15-year-old girls or boys, that if they had enough resources and enough cops and enough time, they would arrest half the town, I mean, it is shocking how many people show up for these things. So I didn't put that on my list, but since you mentioned it,
disturbing.
Yeah, it's disturbing, really is. Okay, the next one that actually is on my list, my penultimate item here. I finished Tulsa King season 3 on Paramount Plus. All right, I thought it was okay. The first 2 seasons were entertaining. Of course, this is Sylvester Stallone as a mafiosa being exiled to Tulsa of all places. He's a fish out of water, but yet he manages to organize a crew and get involved in business out there. The best part of season 3, the latest season, was Robert Patrick, who everybody knows is the liquid metal Terminator from Terminator 2. He's great as the antagonist for Sly. In this season, he's a local businessman from the Dixie Mafia who, is at odds with Sylvester Stallone. The weird part about this season was they brought in the great Samuel L. Jackson as an assassin who was familiar to Sylvester Stallone's character, and this was a pretty, obvious, what they used to call a backdoor pilot, where they were trying to launch another program. Supposedly, there's going to be a spinoff called NOLA, as in New Orleans King, starring Samuel L. Jackson as this assassin character. And in my opinion, this is a jump the shark moment for the show. I'm not sure about season 4.
But Samuel L. Jackson is the perfect one for any jump the shark type shows that you do. There's got to be a record out there for number of movies and actors been in, and he's got to if he's not winning the award, he's got to be in the running for it. That guy has done a lot of work. He's probably one of the hardest working actors in Hollywood.
Samuel L. Jackson is great. This isn't a knock on him. His character was fine in the role he was in. But yeah, the idea of having another whole show with him and using this as a way to spin it off, I thought that was kind of clunky. By the way, the actor who's in the most movies is Eric Roberts. You give him $500, he'll show up, no matter how shitty your movie is. I read his autobiography, and he proudly is addicted to work rather than drugs nowadays, and he has I think nearly 800 credits at this point, and he's only 70 or whatever. So
cool.
He may do some more. And then lastly, like Majid, I watched Alien Earth. I finished it last night. I thought season 1 was very entertaining. They did sort of bring in some elements from Blade Runner, where it's not just about aliens, but there's also questions about what does it mean to be human, right? We've got a world where there are human beings, where there are synthetics, which are complete androids. There are hybrids, which are human beings' consciousness from children transferred into synthetic android bodies. And then we've got cyborgs, which are human beings who've been modified with electronic and robotic parts. So along with that, of course, we have the classic xenomorphs and a whole variety of other aliens, some of which are horrible and some of which have a surprising degree of intelligence. I thought the season was pretty entertaining. There's also a podcast. It's on Hulu and also everywhere you get your podcast, which features the showrunner, director, and other actors and other creative people, that are welcomed on the show by the host to talk about, the 8 episodes we just witnessed. So I consider the podcast pretty good addendum to the show. So if you do manage to finish it, Majid, you might consider checking out the podcast as well.
Cool.
It really, the show feels to me like an acceptable extension of the first movie, but at the same time, it does not feel like your granddad's Ridley Scott alien story. It feels like somebody new has come along and added all these elements, as you say, the philosophical, what does it mean to be human sort of conversation and whatnot to it, and all of the complication that goes along with that, so it is one of my favorite ones right now for the time being.
All right, thanks a lot, Jim. Moving on, we don't have any vibrations from the ether, but I must say it's good that our Discord server has been getting a lot more active recently. More and more conversations on there. So please, it is good to hear from everybody. So that just wanted to mention that. Okay, just going to check this out. So Top Grade has been suggested by Londoner. Top Grade is an intelligent cross-platform, meaning Linux, BSD, Windows, Mac OS, command line utility designed to streamline the process of updating various software components on a system. So instead of manually running apt update or DNF update or pacman -syu, etc., Top Grade automates this entire sequence. It acts as a meta updater, orchestrating updates across a wide array of package managers such as apt, DNF, pacman, etc. Programming language environments such as pip, cargo, npm, and go. Consolidation saves significant time and effort, ensuring your system development tools and applications are consistently up to date with a single command. It's highly configurable with a TOML file, and it allows users to enable or disable specific updaters, add custom commands, control its behavior. And to use it, you just run Top Grade. There is a link to their GitHub in the show notes.
Although that link takes you to a file in somebody's temp directory. I don't know how that happened.
That's broken. But the next one...
Yeah, there's documentation, and they've got a Discord server as well. And the other thing that's in check this out is Cinemenu, which we mentioned earlier as a replacement for the standard Cinnamon menu. Okay then, so housekeeping and announcements. Thank you for listening for this episode of mintCast. If you see something that we think you should be talking about, tell us. You can email us at mintcast@mintcast.org. Join us live on YouTube, post at the mintcast subreddit, chat with us on Discord and Telegram. Discord is where it's at. Or you can post directly at mintcast.org. Our next episode will be 2 p.m. US Central Time on Sunday, January 18th. And there's a link to get that converted to your time zone in the show notes. The next Roundtable live stream will be on Saturday, January 10th at 2 p.m. US Central Time. Again, link to get that converted to your time zone in the show notes. It will be in our Discord voice channel. Live stream information is at mintcast.org. So wrapping up, go on, Joe.
Well, if you like the sound of my voice, you can catch me on a couple other podcasts. I'm on the Linux Think Tech Show, TLLTS.org. I'm on the Linux Lugcast, linuxlugcast.com. You can send me an email directly, jb@mintcast.org, or you can buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. Link in the show notes.
Moss can be with us today. You can get him on Full Circle News. You can email him at moss@bodil.com. He's on Mastodon at Zyvela at Social, occasionally on PR. Go on, Bill.
You can email me, bill@mintcast.org. I'm at wchuzzer3@fossadon.org on Mastodon. Also, check out Linux OTC. I do that show with Eric and Majid. Majid?
Okay, so you can email me at drmajid@mintcast.org, or you can get me on @atypical_doctor @social, doctor threads, and the Atypical Doctor podcast. And I also am on Linux OTC with Bill and Eric. Speaking of Eric can be with us today, but he can be by email at eric@mintcast.org. Unfortunately, Charles couldn't be with us today either. You can get him on charles@mintcast.org or Mr. PDX Discord. And last but not least, Jim.
Yes, I am at jim@mintcast.org. I'm also known as GNU to Linux on our Discord. And lastly, I occasionally do a podcast episode of my own on YouTube as the Linux Shortcut.
So before we leave, we want to make sure to acknowledge some of the people who make mintCast possible. Bill for our audio editing and for hosting the server with our website maintenance, and the Nextcloud server, on which we host our show notes and audio. Archive.org for hosting our audio files. Hubstar for our logo. InnerRD for the Discord logo. London for our time sinks and various other contributions. And of course, the Linux Men development team for the fine dish we love to talk about. Thanks, Clem.
Thanks, Clem.
Thanks, Clem.
And Co.
Thanks a lot, lads.
Yeah.
I'm going to get going because it's hitting midnight here.
Thanks, everybody, in the live
It's like-
stream.
I got